Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. This is Living in Denver, Colorado. Today we've got a super popular topic, the Denver housing bubble, and 3 things you need to know.
Oh, popular one. Let's check it out. What's up, guys? We are the Mile High Property Brothers. I am Eli Schmidt. This is my business partner, Will Grimes. If it's your first time checking out our channel, Living in Denver, Colorado, make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys, because every Tuesday and Thursday we're dropping a new video and we're telling you everything there is to know about either moving out here or what it's like to live here.
100%. And we are licensed brokers in the state of Colorado, which means as much as we love making these videos, we would love more to help you with your real estate needs. So that number popping up below, we are the guys who answer the phone calls and the text messages. We are also the guys who answer the emails. So anything we can do in regards to this video or any other video or just your needs in moving to Colorado, or if you're here in Colorado and you still need some help, we would love to help you guys out. But with that being said, we're going to talk about the Denver bubble, the 3 things you need to know, and like, hey, is there a bubble? What makes a bubble? Let's get started.
All right, guys, so starting off with a little bit of context as far as just the current state of the market in Denver, because right now I'm sure you guys, you watch the news, you know it's hot, right? It's a hot market.
I was trying to make a bubble because he's supposed to explain what makes a bubble.
That's nice.
But I was already committed. I had to. It was lame.
So to give you guys a little context as far as what is actually going on in the Colorado housing market right now, to give you guys a little perspective as far as what the numbers are looking like, and put it in real terms that you guys would understand. So right now we have what's called about half a month of inventory available, 0.46 to be specific. What does that mean exactly? That means if no more houses were to go on the market after today, that everything that's available right now would be gone in 0.46 of a month.
2 weeks.
So yeah,
right?
2 weeks essentially,
right?
2.5 weeks.
Typically,
all the houses are gone.
Correct. Typically what they call like a buyer's market or like a steady market is if you have
6 months.
6 months of inventory.
6 months.
And
it's
I'm not
a balanced market.
Well, here's the deal. The average weight of a linebacker in the NFL in the 1980s was 205. Now the average weight of a linebacker in the NFL, 240. So when they say like 6 months of inventory, like people just commute a lot more. They can work remote. Just ever since the boom of the internet, like things have just been a lot more forward moving. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I've never seen 6 months of inventory. And even when we had 2 months of inventory, man, like there was a lot to look at and buyers were still finding things. So, don't quote me on that. I don't want to be misleading, but man, I don't know if 6 months of inventory is like the appropriate steady market allocation anymore, or if it should be something different. We definitely don't have that now. However, people are still being able to be competitive and buy homes. We'll kind of get into that. But yes, if we had nothing else come on the market right now, everything would be sold within 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, and the reason we want to give that context is because I want you guys to realize is that we are so much a seller's market right now that there's just not like half the buyers could drop out of the market, right? Interest rates could skyrocket, and we still wouldn't see property values drop. We just wouldn't. So our first point here is Denver's not in a bubble. No. And here's our reasons behind
Dang it, now they're not going to watch the rest of the video.
We should have saved it for number 3. You won't believe number 3. But Denver's not in a bubble, and here's why. So let's break down what a bubble actually is here. A bubble is artificial. It's artificially inflated home values. And when home values are artificially inflated, you're buying these properties, and then whatever that artificial thing is pops, property values drop. A prime example is going to be in 2008, pre-2008, when there were no mortgage regulations in place. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, people just weren't very regulated as far as like proving their income, proving like what they were allowed to be qualified for. So like when you have a lot of those things happening, or they are approved, but they have this ARM loan that extends and goes well beyond what they can afford, and values of homes, they end up owing way more than what the house is actually worth. And it comes from some of the interest in those ARMs that are connected to it. It creates that bubble, right?
Yeah.
Right now, Colorado's very reminiscent of like California in the 1980s.
I agree.
There's still plenty to be built out here. It's not all the way incorporated, but people are here and they're submitting offers on homes. And yes, they're going over asking price, but they're also covering any appraisal gaps if there is an appraisal gap. And if they cover that appraisal gap, once it shows sold, it's sold for that price, which means it's worth what they just paid for. So you have a steady increase of value, but the value is real because people are willing to pay for it, and they do pay for it.
Yeah, so back then, guys, we had this artificially inflated buyers, which it was so easy to buy a home. If you were, like, literally any job, you could pick up a phone and talk to a lender.
Well, the famous story was like strippers that were buying with mattress money, and they were owning 3 homes, and they were lying about income and different things and listening to certain people.
No verifications in place. Now that all that stuff is mitigated, and there's just a ton of factors that have to go on top of a person as a buyer before they're approved.
Correct.
So that problem is solved, right?
So now, you have real buyers that
real
are
value.
qualified. So if somebody's buying a home for $800,000, like the rules and regulations and guidelines they got to go through to prove their income and their debt to income and all of that stuff in order to get an actual pre-approval, it's pretty stringent. And it's also to protect you as a buyer because you know legally you can afford what something is recommending, that hey, you're approved for $800,000. That means legally you can afford it because you've proved everything you need to prove in order to establish that. It also means no bubble because real buyers who can really afford something is there. Now, if you decide to go over what you can lend on, but you've got cash and you can cover an appraisal gap, like, hey, that's completely on you. But either way, the money is real and it's going to happen, and it will sell at the price that it's going to sell at.
Yeah, 100%. And what happened, what I think specifically in Colorado, what I think happened was that I think, back in the marijuana boom around like 2010, 2012, I think that brought a lot of attention to Colorado. A lot of people kind of turned their heads. We were in the media a lot. And what I think happened was you saw a lot of companies look at Colorado as this innovative, progressive, forward-moving state who also have good property taxes, an enjoyable place to live. It's central in the country. It's easy to get to. That brought jobs to Colorado. And
100%.
that laid this foundation of this booming economy that we have.
And people keep blaming it on like the marijuana. Oh, the marijuana industry just made Colorado crush, but that's all that's there. Like the marijuana industry is here and it is successful here, but that's not everything. The bottom line is people love living in Colorado. You get the snow, you get great falls, great springs, great summers, and people just love living here. Why, and companies can be here and establish themselves. We've got great school districts with STEM schools and a lot of, like, for example, Facebook moving here. It's because instead of sending everybody to San Francisco, so many people from Colorado end up applying there. So why wouldn't they just come here, right? It's a lot more affordable. They can pay people at the rate that's acceptable for Colorado versus California, and the property taxes and things they have to adhere to there. But it's such a desirable place to live. Companies are now moving here. So it's not just marijuana. There's a tech industry here. There's a lot of cool stuff. Does that help the infrastructure and prevent bubble as well? Because you've got real established careers and jobs here, and people can really afford and pay for homes. 100%.
Yeah, man. And if we just had marijuana, that would have been a housing bubble. If we just
buy
had
a
a bunch
house,
of people,
man. You'd have a bunch of Eli's trying to buy a house, and you can't sell hemp houses. You're out of luck.
So that's a prime example, guys, of what could have been a bubble in Colorado. If we just had this marijuana boom, a ton of people moved here to get in on the action, property values rise, and then all of a sudden marijuana becomes not that exciting anymore. Boom,
people can't afford. Yeah, people lose their jobs. People can't afford to pay these houses. The interest rates that are on, or the ARM loans that they end up upside down on the house. A lot of stuff that could happen. It's just not there. It's not the reality of it. But a lot of people assume when the housing market is super lucrative and it's busy, but not that many people are selling, like, oh man, it must be a bubble, it must be fake, it must be inflation. No. And hey, let's just answer the question, like, well, why aren't that many homes for sale? Like, one, it's been increasing. It was like at 1,200 for a while, now it's at like 2,500 homes on the market. So it is steadily increasing because sellers are realizing it's not a bubble and they are getting money for their homes and they want to capitalize on the equity. So you are getting more sellers. However, second reason why sometimes you just don't see a lot of homes on the market in Colorado, maybe compared to some other places, they just don't want to move. Like if they have a house that they really enjoy and they entertain and have family or neighbors that come over and they like the area that they're in, Colorado is super desirable to live in. A lot of these southeast areas are just super desirable to live in. You don't have a higher attrition rate as far as people wanting to move, maybe compared to some other states. And I'm shooting from my own experience. I'm not quoting any website or that's true or not, but I do think that by nature, with Colorado being so desirable to just live here, no, you don't see people selling that often. When they find the home that they want, they tend to stay there, right? So but that also creates stability in that value market ad that we're talking about. So skin it however you want. Either way, like there's some other contributing factors that make this real, not just a bubble that people are assuming.
So to recap so far, before going into our third point, we've got Denver's not in a bubble. You know, the supply and demand issue that we have right now is just very clear. It's not a bubble. And what makes it not a bubble is our second point, the economic foundation that we have here. Our job economy is amazing right now in Colorado. More and more industries are continuing to come to Colorado and bring more jobs with it. So that's our number 2 point. And our number third point is that it's not going to slow down anytime soon, guys. So for those of you that are thinking about buying a house right now, one of the questions we get is, hey, should I wait to buy? Am I buying at the top of the market? And I'm telling you what, we had clients asking us 5 years ago if they were buying at the top of the market.
2.5 years ago, we had an outstanding market. Homes were like, there wasn't that many homes on the market. A lot were selling at these high prices, very reminiscent of where it is right now. It stabilized, it slowed down. Things came back to where it was at. More homes came on the market because there were less buyers. All good, but 2 years ago, imagine people at the equity that they have right now from 2.5 years ago of owning a home compared to right now. So if you're buying this year, like you're gonna be seeing the same thing in 5 years from now, right? Yeah. And the one thing I want to remind you guys is it's real property, it's land, it's real property. If the housing market crashed, or if just job market crashed, which then indirectly caused the housing market to crash because people couldn't afford their homes, they're real, and it's real land, real property that you own. You lose the stock market, you lose stocks, and that company goes under and goes away.
Bye-bye.
It's gone. Your land, your home will not be gone. People that owned homes in 2008 that could still afford them, that had jobs and were responsible homeowners, imagine the equity they have right now.
Massive.
And I think that leads us to one of our other points, which is by nature, you do have a lot of buyers that are heavy right now because they don't necessarily, especially after COVID and some things that happen with politics, a lot of folks don't necessarily trust the stock market and some things that are happening there. So they've pulled out, they're very cash heavy, and they want to go invest in a real property. Yeah. And it's real estate.
We're getting a lot of those. We've got a handful of clients that can't even move here for a few years.
But they're buying now.
They're buying properties right now so that they can have that appreciation.
And they're yeah, exactly. And they'll have the equity on that. But again, guys, all food for thought. This isn't to be partial because we are licensed or anything like that. This is to just give you guys food for thought for what we're seeing from our lens, how we react to markets, how we see the market for what it is, giving you guys some tidbits to look into. The bottom line is, whether it's now or a year from now, make sure you're making the right decisions for your family. But if there was any fear about that, or if you're choosing not to make any decisions and you haven't turned stones and done your own research or had the conversation with us, definitely do a little bit more research before you go to a decision of permanently not doing something that could cost you a lot of money a year or two from now.
Yep, and we do say this out of a place of care. We really do. Like, yes, we do make money through real estate. That's how we put food on our table and feed our families. However, guys, man, I wish prior to me getting in real estate, I wish someone was having this conversation with me.
Yeah.
And just telling me, hey, like, real estate is the way to go because it never fails. Like, yeah, it might go down like in 2008, but man, those same people, had they held on or been able to hold on, completely different situation. So
full disclosure as well, guys, we don't do leads, we don't call Zillow, we don't call Realtor.com. If we do wrong by you, I bet you guys don't refer anybody to us. And then we don't continue to do business and we don't feed our families. So yes, this is how we make our career. However, if we don't do right by you, I bet it doesn't last very long. So food for thought. If you guys have questions on this, please let us know, because as I said before, we are licensed brokers, which means as much as we love making these videos for you guys, we would love more to help you with your real estate needs. So the number popping back up below are the guys who answer the phone calls, the ding dongs, the text messages. That's one of you calling right now. Or email, if you guys like writing email. A lot of you do these super long, informative, grammatically correct emails. We love them. We appreciate them. Whatever your form of communication best fits you guys moving forward. For us, we are all for it. But with that being said, subscribe to the channel. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you guys very soon.
See you next time, guys.
See you guys.